Hey everybody, Nicole Bowman here, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist, and welcome back to another live on TikTok. I know that the app went dark for a while, but I decided to come on and do a live for as long as TikTok is in existence. I'm going to be doing lives here, but I do recommend that if you want to stay in connection with me, the best way to do that is to go to my website. My website is nicolebowman.biz, and you can go to my contact page and sign up for my newsletter. And I don't send out newsletters all the time, just to be clear, but I send them out as I feel led to and as I feel that I need to. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Just in case you're wondering where I can be or where I will be. So that's nicolebowman.biz. You click on my contact page and join the newsletter. You can also click on my link tree, which is here in my TikTok profile. And then I also have a YouTube channel called Live the Light. And I have tons of videos there that you can listen to as well. A lot of playlists on psychic development, on empath support, many things. And it's a lot of information that I've amassed over a number of years. So it isn't just this year. So I'm going to wait for a second and we will see who comes into the room. I know that the app has been changing. And so I want to say hello to people who are coming into the room. My name is Nicole Bowman. I'm a psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. And we're going to get into things in just a minute. I'm going to be doing some readings tonight. So we will be doing readings by donation, but we're going to do that a little bit later. I want to first share some information that I think people need to know, specifically if you're in the United States of America, in terms of preparing for 2025 and the year ahead. And you can always, of course, go to nicolebowman.biz. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I put a lot of information there. I want to say hello to everybody who is coming into the room. I see some familiar faces and obviously some new faces. For those of you who are brand new to me, my name is Nicole Bowman. I'm a psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. And as you can see at the top of the title, I posted, "Where have all the psychics gone?" Because as we know, in the United States of America, we have a new administration. There are some people that are over the moon about it. There are some people that feel like it's a nightmare. Okay. So we're going to be talking about all of that tonight. But we're also going to be talking about how to prepare in this year ahead because there are so many different things going on. And it's important not to fall into fear. If you are an American and you voted in the election and your candidate did not win, then you have to prepare. But you also have to prepare if your candidate did. Right? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And as I said before, also going to be doing some readings, and we'll be doing these readings by donation. So I will be on TikTok for as long as the app stays in existence. But I will tell you, even about a year and a half ago, I felt that the app was going to change. And so that's one of the things that I've said to a lot of my followers, that this app will continue to change. Right. And I saw changes like 6 months ago. I felt that. But obviously, we went dark a couple of days ago. So if you do want to stay connected to me, the best way is to go to nicolebowman.biz and join my newsletter. You can also click on my link tree. It has all of my social media. And my YouTube channel is Live the Light. So you can go there as well. You can subscribe. Tons of things on psychic development. I want to say hello to Penny, hello to Michael, Tweety Bird, everybody that has joined in. I hope you guys are doing well. So I titled this, "Where Have All the Psychics Gone?" And that is because there's been a lot of psychics that predicted a Harris Walz presidency. And I want to talk a little bit about the accuracy of psychic readings, why maybe people predicted that and saw that, why it didn't come to pass. I'm also going to answer your questions. So first and foremost, when it comes to being a psychic, what is that? Psychics are people who can tell the future. Right. So we can look at you, we can look at your experiences, we can look at your life, and we can see the path ahead. But in addition to telling the future, a psychic can also look at the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions of you and people around you. And the reality of the situation is this: there is no psychic that is 100% accurate. No one is 100% accurate. And sometimes what we are seeing is we are seeing possible and probable futures. We're not necessarily seeing a set in stone future. And the reason why is because we as the people have free will and we have choices. And so I do want to say that for the psychics that predicted a Harris-Walz presidency, what I sense sort of happened there is that I'm not saying that they didn't see it, because one of the things that I will tell you is that I did not predict that particular presidency, but what I saw very clearly, and Spirit said this to me about a then Senator Kamala Harris about 5 or 6 years ago. Spirit said, do not underestimate her. So I do think it's important to know and understand that there is still more information that is going to be coming. But we do have a new administration. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to get super deep into it because I'm not sure about this algorithm anymore. I feel like the algorithm has definitely changed. And I've noticed that there are a lot of people, their channels, big and small, that have been flagged because of their verbiage and what they share. So I do want to tell you that sometimes psychics can get it wrong. Sometimes we can see a possible or probable future, and we might read that as an absolute. When I do readings, I don't read as an absolute truth because I know and understand that free will can set in. And the thing you have to understand about the United States of America is that we are an extremely young country, right? There are so many other countries on the planet that have been watching and waiting and wanting to see what's going to happen with us because we are indeed so young. We still have a lot to learn. And what sets us apart from a lot of different nations is our diversity to a degree. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other nations and countries that are very diverse. There definitely are. But here in the United States of America, we have people from all over the world. You know, in my culture in particular, I descend from slaves. So my ancestors didn't have a choice of whether or not they came here. They were brought here. Then there are those of you who are Irish. There are those of you who are British. There are those of you who are Italian that came here as indentured servants and had to work off your debt. And then you were able to assimilate into whiteness. So I say all of this to say that we have to reckon with that original sin of slavery. And we have to reckon with that original sin of human schmafficking. Right? And we have to atone for that, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to move past that if we as a nation are going to heal. And what I firmly feel is that because we have not had a moment of reckoning with that, where we haven't sat down to really look at the history, and for every knee to bow, and for all of us to atone, and for all of us to come together as one people, one source, one force, I feel like that's why we're constantly coming up against these challenges and these issues. So I'm going to go into the room. I just want to see. Yes, I hope everybody is doing well. My name is Nicole Bowman. I'm a psychic medium and intuitive artist. And I was talking a little bit about the United States of America and our recent election. I know some of you are Americans, others are from many different parts of the world. One of the things that Spirit was telling me when I was tapping in and connecting, one of the things they were saying, and they had been saying this, is they said to pray for the highest outcome for the United States of America. Right. And they also said that things will get worse before they get better, but they will get better. Because one of the things you also have to understand is that it feels like right now in the United States of America, we are in the midst of a mass spiritual awakening. But when we're looking at government itself, government has a tendency to move slowly. And what I'm finding is that government is actually moving at the pace of the people that are moving at a slower pace. So it's almost like if we are walking in a group, we get in step with the people that are moving at more of a slower pace. That's the energy that I'm getting. That's the energy that I'm feeling. For me personally, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a lot more progressive and a lot more left-leaning. So neither candidate was my personal choice, okay? But I know that for a lot of Americans, we're in this two-party system, and so we're trying to determine who is going to be best. Now, for me personally, and this is just personal, this is not spiritual, this is just personal, I was Bernie Sanders all the way. But that was not the path for us in the United States of America. And that was not the highest outcome for us as a people. And I don't mean that he wouldn't have made a great president, but I do feel that with a Sanders presidency, everybody would have had to roll up their sleeves. We all would have had to stand up and be counted. We all would have had to stand up and be accountable. And I think that there are a lot of us who are just simply not ready to do that. The one thing that I will say, though, and Spirit says this again and again and again, we cannot make our leaders our saviors. We can't make them our saviors. And whether we are making President Trump our savior, whether we're making Vice President Harris our savior, it's just simply not going to work, because it's we, the people. We, the people. I want to say hello to everybody, and thank you, Penny, so much for liking the live. I will say, if you do like these lives and you like what I'm talking about, please follow my page, because it costs you absolutely nothing. But what it does do is that it makes me more visible to the TikTok community. And I will also say, I don't really know how long we are going to be here on TikTok. This app is changing and shifting, and there's a very high possibility that it may go away. So if you want to stay connected with me, the best way to do it is go to NicoleBowman.biz and join my newsletter, or on this page, you can click on my link tree or my YouTube and you can connect with me there. So tonight I am going to be doing some readings by donation. So if you have questions, if there's something that you want to know, I'd be more than happy to read for you, but I'm going to do it by donation, so we have that fair energetic exchange. If you want to do it by donation, you can go to NicoleBowman.biz and click Buy Me a Coffee and just type in the amount that you feel led to. And then after that, type your question in the comments and I will answer it. And obviously, you're more than welcome, if you enjoy these lives, because I've done a number of them before, you're welcome to just donate. You can go to NicoleBowman.biz and click Buy Me a Coffee. You can also donate through Cash App, all one word, Live the Light. So I'm going to go into the room. I want to say hello to Bricks. And I see Penny here. She says, do you think people would benefit if we actually congregated together? Penny, I want to flesh out that question a little bit more. Do you mean congregated together in person, or do you mean online? Just type it into the comments. Yeah, so I'm just waiting. I want to say hello to Chris and Cal and Mate. Oh, in person, Penny says. Okay. And excuse me for just a second, because I'm having a coffee. Oh, and everybody, if you want, grab a coffee, grab something to eat or drink. We're going to be here for a while. So Penny says, do you think that it would be great if people congregated in person? Depending upon where you live, definitely. Definitely. But I think the challenge and the issue there is that you have to be with like-minded people. You have to be with like-minded people. Now, right now, though, because we're in the midst of the spiritual awakening, that's already happening. So what you're going to find is you're naturally going to gravitate towards people that you're more of a vibrational match to. And in fact, the reason why TikTok was so beautiful is that prior to that 12-hour shutdown, which I really think was like a reboot and a restart, if you know what I mean, of different things, we were connecting. The algorithm was connecting us with people that we were a vibrational match to. I'll tell you personally, I'm not a huge fan of social media. I don't really like it. I joined social media kicking and screaming a long time ago, and when I was in college when Facebook started. So, if I wanted to do the Facebook, I could have done it when I was in college, and I just had an aversion to it. I didn't join Facebook until many, many years later. But I say all of that to say that, for me, I really didn't like social media. But when I joined TikTok, I began to really enjoy it because I was connecting with people that I was a match to vibrationally. And a lot of the connections were very, very genuine. So yes, I think it is important for people to congregate in person. I will say though, and this is more of a prediction, but also spiritual guidance. One of the things that Spirit is telling me is that because of the nature of what's going on right now with sickness, illness, disease, people need to be masking. If you're congregating outside, you'll pretty much be okay. But if you're indoors, Spirit is saying that people need to be masking. And, and I've been saying this for a while, but it was so funny. I was out tonight and I was walking around. I was walking around outside because where I'm at, it's still relatively warm. But I can't tell you how many people outside were coughing and sneezing and all of the stuff. And I'm in a relatively warm climate. I'm in a relatively warm climate. In fact, a woman I go to that I buy incense from, she had told me that she had just gotten over the C word. Right. So, because I don't know how much I can say anymore, because I feel like a lot of it is going to be suppressed. But she had just gotten over it and she's fine now, But I'm just saying all of that to say that there is a lot going on. So, yes, I do think it would be beneficial if we met in person. But I also think in terms of meeting in person, you also have to ask yourself, what is the goal? What is the desire? What is the purpose? In 2025, one of the big things that Spirit said is that chosen family and friends and community is what's going to save us this year. I've been emphasizing this for a good 2 years since I was living in Puerto Rico before I moved off the island. I've been telling people you need a garden. And you don't have to go grow everything, but you need a garden. And you can grow herbs in the garden. You can do a small fruit tree. You can, whatever it is that you can manage in your personal space, it's very, very important to do that because that is what is going to sustain you this year. And what Spirit is also saying is that you have to start getting to know your neighbors, getting to know people in community, because community is what will save us. A lot of what's happening, especially in the United States of America, but this is all happening around the world, is people being isolated and feeling like you're all alone. One of the major things that Spirit had told me is that there are a lot of people that were going to be crashing out. And they said more specifically, people crashing out online. Now, this was prior to TikTok going dark for a while. But once TikTok went dark, it all made sense to me and it all connected. Because, people are feeling very isolated and they're feeling even more so now. So yes, going into your local communities, library is so huge. Everybody that can, go get a library card. And not only that, the libraries really are community centers. That's the thing. Like some libraries, you can get musical instruments, you can take out music. There's so many things you can do. There are book readings. I'm an author, I'm a published author. There are so many local authors that will sign copies of their book at the library. The library really is a community center. Karen says, oh, thank you, Karen. Thank you. She has a glitter badge. Thank you for supporting. I appreciate you. Karen says churches. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I will say this, and this has been my personal experience. I know this is not everyone's experience, and I'm sensitive to what people have going on. I went to Catholic school growing up. My parents put me into Catholic school. So that was my first connection with religion, with God, with Spirit, was through Catholic school. And then after that, it was the Pentecostal churches and the praise and worship churches. But I say all of this to say that many years ago, when I was just doing not so well financially, and I was at the start of my career as a psychic medium and intuitive, I was living in my car. I was on very difficult financial times and I ended up living in my car, as many people are doing now. There are many people with YouTube channels that talk about living in their car. And so anyway, I went to St. Vincent de Paul and I explained my situation to them. And they got me food. They got me all sorts of different things. And then there was a period of time there where I'd actually moved into an apartment, but I was still struggling and I couldn't make rent. And I went to the Catholic Church and I told them what my situation was. And by the way, they knew I was a psychic. They knew. They paid my rent. They paid my rent. Right? So churches are community centers. Penny says, if we gather in small groups, we can support and share love and peace and raise our vibes by being 110%, 110%. The Bible speaks about that as well. And I know everybody here is not a Christian. I know everybody here is not religious. Sometimes when I use scripture, but it's connected to us. And so what I say is that if one or more people come together in the name of God, or in the name of love, or in the name of justice, or in the name of something that you believe in, you can make change. you know. And I will tell you, Catholic churches are one of those places where they have a lot in terms of support. You'd be surprised. A lot of times you just have to go sit down with the priest or sit down with the nuns and tell them what your situation is, and they'll help you out. Another one, I mean, they were a godsend to me when I lived on the East Coast, was Jewish Family Services. Jewish Family Services was such a blessing to me. I was really struggling financially, and Jewish Family Services in Elizabeth, New Jersey, where I used to live, they had a food bank. They had a food bank. And what I loved about Jewish Family Services and the Catholic Church too, there was no judgment. At least that was not my experience. I was not judged. They were just like, what do you need? What's going on? Let us know. And that was it, you know. I want to say hello to I Must Confess I'm a Goddess, Micaiah Essence. Thank you so much for being here. Karen says, I got food banks. Yep, absolutely. And I do want to say, you know, where you've been, you'll be again, right? Because years ago, I went to food banks. Years ago, you know, I went to Catholic church and different things like that in order to get sustenance and things that I needed. And then many years later, I was able to give back and help others. I mean, look at what's happening in California right now with the fires. You know, how many of those people in the fires do you think actually gave to causes they believed in? How many of those people in the fires do you think are probably at volunteer centers right now, in food banks right now, helping people, feeding people, doing something, anything to get their mind off of the situation? You know, a lot of times people think that giving is about having a ton of money, but it's not. What I have consistently found is that if you are a giver, whatever level you're at, you'll find a way. If you got $20, you'll give $5. If you got $1 million, you'll give, I don't know, 100,000 or whatever you have. And so one of the things that I think is important is to get into the habit of giving. And you can give in a lot of different ways. You know, one of the things that is so challenging is that, like, I see so many GoFundMes that I want to be able to give to, but I'm not always in the position to be able to do so. But what I'll do is I'll often share people's GoFundMes. I'll tell people about it. I'll donate to the ones that I can. There's actually one pinned to the top of my page. There's a young woman, her name is Kailyn, and she's from New Orleans, Louisiana. She's an intuitive, and she got sick with long C. You know, I don't know. This app is different now, so I'm not using the words. But she got long C19. And there are a lot of people that got long C19, and it made them permanently disabled. So she has a GoFundMe up, and she's been using it to get health insurance, to get medical care, different things. It's a great way to help others. So if you want to help someone, it's pinned to the top of my page. Her name is Kailyn. She's from New Orleans. Oh, thank you, Karen. Love you too. Love you too. Her name is Kailyn. She's from New Orleans, and you can donate to her channel. And she's also, I believe she's still here on TikTok as well. She has a channel on TikTok as well. And I've have her added in that video at the top too. So as I said, I am open to doing readings for people tonight if there is something that's on your mind. I ask that we do the readings by donation though. And it is pay what you can. So there is no monetary stipulation on it in terms of it has to be this, it has to be that. But if you want to do that, you can go to NicoleBowman.biz and click Buy Me a Coffee. It's on the front of my website. It says Buy Me a Coffee, and just type in whatever amount you feel led to, and then type your question in the comments. And I'm doing it by the honor system because I'm not actually checking my emails or anything like that. So I'm just trusting that things will flow, the money will flow the way it needs to, the reciprocity will flow the way it needs to. And then also, if you have been enjoying the lives and things of that nature, if you want to just simply donate, you can do it by going to NicoleBowman.biz and clicking on Buy Me a Coffee, or you can do Cash App, which is Live the Light, all one word. But to be clear, No one is under any obligation or stipulation to donate. I'm simply saying that if you want to, if you feel led to, you can. I want to say hello to everybody else that's coming in. So we're talking about where have all the psychics gone? Because I know a lot of psychics predicted a Harris Walz presidency. And now on this app, a lot of psychics have been silent. Some people are still standing by their prediction. They feel like something's going to shift, it's going to change, and President Trump will be removed from power. Other people are feeling like it may be coming to terms with the fact that they got it wrong. And I want to say that as psychics, mediums, and intuitives, we're not all seeing and all knowing. You know, I actually saw that if former President Biden stayed in the race, he would have won. And I know how that sounds. And everybody looks at me like I have three heads. I get it. I get it. I get it. You know, but sometimes we are wrong. Sometimes we see a probable future that with the best case scenario will happen, but it doesn't. All right. But there's still a lot more coming out. And I do want to talk about it. And Penny says, or they were silenced. You know, Penny, Penny, are you psychic, Penny? Are you psychic? Because I agree with you. This app has changed. You can feel, if you're sensitive to any level of energy, or if you just know pattern recognition, you can feel that this app is already different. It's different. There's glitches. The resolution is not as clear as what it used to be. Even as I'm looking at myself in this live, the resolution in previous lives there's been so much more clarity in my face, my skin, everything. I don't know if any of you all feel that way, but Penny says, I am empathetic. Yeah. But there you go. Because you can feel what is going on. And that isn't just putting yourself in another person's shoes. That's also being clairsentient enough to read the energy of the environment around you. Oh, I must confess I'm a goddess says, I do not see your posts the same. Oh, you don't? Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, you know what's funny? There are a lot of people that I was following prior to that 12-hour outage or what have you, that I had to go back and refollow them because they had been unfollowed. So, yeah. Penny says, I can read a room pretty fast. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Me too. Me too. When I was a kid, I used to be so overwhelmed by it because I'm also telepathic. So I could hear people's thoughts. And for the longest time, I thought I was going crazy until I finally understood they weren't my thoughts. I was hearing the thoughts of other people. I must confess I'm a goddess says I'm going to check. Yeah, please do. Please check and see, because you might have the system might have unfollowed me. And also, everyone, I'm gonna be here for a while, maybe like another half hour or so. So, but yeah, you know. But the thing is, what we're seeing sometimes is a probable future. It's not always a set in stone future. And I will tell you, anybody that says they're 100% accurate, they're not. Anybody that says they're never wrong, they haven't been wrong yet. Yet. I've been reading for a fairly long time, you know, and I have a pretty high accuracy rate. You know, not just in predicting for my clients what's going on in their lives, but world events, things like that. But I've definitely gotten things wrong. I've definitely gotten things wrong because the reality of the situation is I'm a human being. I'm a channel for divine information, but I'm not God. So there are things that I'm going to miss. There are things I may not know, you know, and sometimes as well, there's just a free will factor, you know, that I think in the United States of America, we're still grappling with that original sin of slavery. We're still grappling with racism. And until we come to terms with the fact that some people vote the way they do because they want to ensure that black people or brown people or trans people don't have the same rights, until we come to terms with the fact that that is why some people vote the way they do, because it's about feeling superior. Until we come to terms with that and understand that we're all one. We come from the one source. until we get that, we are going to be divided. I've traveled all over the world, and what I find is when I travel to countries that are more monolithic in terms of race, what I find is that there's not always as much, I don't want to say division, because that's not necessarily the right word, but when I look at the discrimination, when I look, for example, with the prison systems, the penal systems, things of that nature, there isn't like a disproportionate number of people in prison, for example. And in other countries, what I found is that they do actually have rehabilitation programs, versus here in the United States of America, a lot of what prison is about is punishment. And specifically, it's punishing Black and brown people. So it's not about elevating. It's not about healing. It's not about changing. It's about punishment. And now it's about another form of slavery, and it's another form of free labor, right? But if you're looking at this group of people, this could be Black people, this could be brown people, this could be LGBTQIA folk, it could be any number of that, right? But if you're looking at these people and seeing them as inferior to you, or seeing them as lazy, or making up whatever story you're making up in your mind, you're dehumanizing them. Essentially, you're not being empathetic. Because to be empathetic is to put yourself in another person's shoes and see life through their eyes. That's what we're missing. And when you're not empathetic and you see another person as a problem, or you see a person as taking away something from you, then that's why certain people will vote the way they do, because they want that hierarchical structure. I will say this, though. There are also some people, deeply religious, who feel like they're ushering in the rapture by voting the way they do. So there's a lot of moving parts going on. It isn't just one thing. One of the things the Spirit always says to me is that part of doing spiritual work, or being a spiritual worker, is you have to understand that there's a great big world out there. There's a great big universe out there, and you are a part of it. So you have to kind of understand what your role is in it. And, sometimes we like to think we're at the center of things, but we're not. And we all go through that, I think, at times. We all may have an ego. We all may inflate ourselves. We may all think that we're clearer about something than we actually are. But I firmly believe a lot of the psychics that saw that presidency did indeed see that. And I feel like what they saw was a probable future, but I will tell you this, and I'll tell you this. This is so bizarre. I remember when President Trump got inaugurated the first time, and I heard all these people, after he got inaugurated, I heard people screaming, "He's still our president." And I remember saying to Spirit, like, what are you talking about? Of course he's the president. He just got into office. And I got a vision of people driving around in pickup trucks, screaming and hollering that he was our president. And I didn't know what any of that meant. And sometimes Spirit will show me visions, but they won't explain everything. They will just give me the information so I can brace myself for it. So when it happens, especially if I'm around a lot of people, my energy will be calm enough that the people around me won't crash out. So, Charlottesville happened. And I asked Spirit, I said, is that what I was seeing? And they said, no, but it's a part of it. Just wait. And then January 6th happened. And when January 6th happened, I was like, so that's what I saw 4 years ago. And Spirit said, yes, that's what you saw. That's what you saw. So I say all of that to say that there are other things coming. The thing you have to understand about the Trump presidency is that he's a disruptor. He's here to disrupt. That's what his presidency is about. It's also about holding up a mirror to ourselves as Americans and asking ourselves who we are and who we want to be. One of the things the Spirit was telling me when I was tapping in and reading, and this is when former President Biden was still in the race, what Spirit was saying is that the boomer generation, specifically the generations of Putin and Trump and Biden, one of the things that they needed to learn is that power can be shared. Power can be shared. And so what was happening in Washington, specifically with the Democrats, was this issue of not being able to share power and not being able to wield power properly and not wanting to pass the torch. And Spirit said a torch needs to be passed. It needs to be passed. It's time for the younger generations to step up. And that could be on either side, right? Now, for me personally, I'm extremely progressive. I'm very leftist. But what's funny is like when I was in college, I mean, years ago, I used to be actually a lot more conservative. Many, many years ago when President Obama and then Senator John McCain went back and forth, I was actually a lot more conservative. And I did actually vote for Obama, but I was listening to Senator McCain. I was listening to Representative McCain to hear what he had to say. So, but we changed. And for me, it was like growing and evolving spiritually, living all over the world. There were just so many different things that shaped who I am as a human being, that with each passing year, some people say with each year, as you get older, you get more and more right leaning. I keep going further left. With each passing year, I'm like, can I go any more left? But it's evolving. Lynn says, "Wake up." That's really what's happening, though. But I know it doesn't look that way to some people, right? But the thing is, there are some folk that are trying to go back to sleep. There are people who want to be comfortably numb. There are people who want to go back to the America of the 50s or 60s, the world of the 50s or 60s. But the reality of the situation is we're not there anymore. We're here. We are here. And, yeah, it is time to wake up. It is time to wake up. I was talking about the importance of having a garden. That is important this year if you can do it. I know everybody can't, but if you can, grow things on your windowsill if you can. When you go to the grocery store, even if you get like green onions or different things, there are a lot of plants that can be repotted, or you can grow vegetables and different things off of cuttings. Onions are a good one. So, that's something to think about as well. So I'm going into the chat room and I just wanted to ask, does anybody have any questions? Anybody have anything they want to say? I must confess I'm a goddess, says I can feel it. Absolutely. The big thing I want to say too is, and I know this is easier said than done, don't fall into fear. Don't fall into fear. Part of growing and evolving spiritually is you have to see things for what they are, and then you get to imagine what you would like it to be. A lot of times people have difficulty drawing to them what they want because there's this energy of denial. So they're not willing to look at what is, but you have to look at what is first. And you can look at it and be like, I don't like this. I don't want this. But then after you realize you don't like it and you don't want it, you can then begin to imagine a different life, a different way. What do I like? What do I want? I imagine a world where in the United States of America, we have a bunch of thriving middle-class households. People can pay for their kids to go to school, play outside. It's safe. That's what I imagine for the United States. I don't imagine we have to have billionaire upon billionaire upon billionaire. What about thousands upon thousands upon thousands of thriving middle-class communities? And if you want to go beyond that, you can go beyond that. Sorry, guys, I'm congested a little bit. Penny says, are we allowed to be upset when people hurt us on purpose? Are we allowed to grieve that? Absolutely. And I think you have to. So here's the thing. and in fairness, like I definitely used to be this way. When I was at the beginning of one of my spiritual awakenings, because I'm also of the belief system based on experience that you have many spiritual awakenings. But one of my first spiritual awakenings, I was in a space where I didn't want to hear anything negative, no sad, no nothing. Right? Because I thought that in blocking out the negative, I was drawing to me more positivity. What I didn't understand, though, is that on planet Earth, as human beings, we live in a planet of contrast. And if somebody hurts you on purpose, if somebody injures you, that's a deliberate thing. And if you have a healthy sense of self-esteem and somebody mistreats you or says something negative to you, your healthy self-esteem would kick in and say, wait, that's not right. That's not true. And you might experience that as sadness or anger or grief or anything, because the emotion is signaling to you that what happened to you is not okay. What I find is I just let myself feel it. I let the emotion flow through me. I express it. I write it down. I don't deny what I'm feeling. I embrace it. I allow it to flow through me. If I don't like something, I admit I don't like it. I write it down. And then after I've gotten all of that out of my system, I let it go. Then I let it go. But yes, I cry, I scream, I get out by the water, I write music, I write songs. I think that within spiritual communities, sometimes people have gotten caught up in believing that by being emotionless or not affected by anything or anyone, that's a sign that you've evolved spiritually. And I tend to disagree. In fact, I think that the more you grow and evolve spiritually, but oddly enough, it's going to sound like a paradox, but the more beautifully human you become. So you're a mix of both the divine and you're a mix of being a human being. Like if somebody you love says a bunch of horrible things, to you, most people are not going to be like, oh, whatever. I'm not saying that you may not get to that place one day, but most people are going to feel some sort of pain, some sort of wound, some sort of injury. And that doesn't mean you're unevolved. It means you have a healthy sense of self-esteem and you know that what's happening to you is not right and it's out of bounds. And your emotion system, your emotional guidance system, is triggering that emotion to reflect to you, this is not all right. So yeah, I think you do need to express it. Penny says, someone very recently hurt me emotionally, and I have so many feelings about it. I think that that's probably going to take time though, because one of the things that Spirit is making me feel about that is that that's very layered. It's layered because on one hand, it feels like some of what they did, I don't want to say it was entirely deliberate, right? But there's some layer of that. And then I also feel like you're dealing with a spiritually and emotionally immature person. So sometimes people that are spiritually and emotionally immature, they're not outright trying to hurt or harm you, but they're just doing them and living life. And I want to say this, and I think this relates to you, Penny, but I also think this might relate to other people in the room. Sometimes there are people who know that they're doing something wrong, like something wrong, cruel, something callous. But they'll tell themselves a story in their head and they'll say, oh, but he or she, or they'll get over it or what have you, whatever, right? That's what they tell themselves to justify why they did what they did and why they don't have to apologize. And then they'll sort of like show up like nothing happened. That's abuse. It's abuse. It's abuse and it's manipulation. And it's not okay. It's not okay. And I think the thing for you, Penny, is that you have to really go within and ask yourself, does this person have the emotional maturity to have the conversation that I need or want to have with them? You know what I mean? Because like some people don't. Some people do not. And sometimes the conversation is not even worth it because the amount of energy you're going to expend to try to have that conversation is just not worth it. It's just not worth it, but sometimes it doesn't even necessarily like have to be a conversation. Like sometimes it could just be, sorry guys, it's hot in here. I don't want to turn my air conditioning on because it's like, it could be loud. So, but yeah, sometimes you have to determine that because certain things are just, as much as you would want to have the conversation, they're not necessarily worth the conversation. They're just not necessarily worth it, because I'm speaking to somebody here. Okay. Sometimes people will have a conversation with you that is very disingenuous. So they'll come to you trying to act like they're sincere, but underneath they don't want any sort of resolution. And when you actually point out things to them that you feel have hurt you or harmed you in some way, they will act like they don't know what you're talking about, or like everything is fine. That is abusive and manipulative behavior. And I think that, in those situations, you can call it out once and say, I want to have a real genuine conversation with you. And I don't feel like this exchange that we're having is genuine. But if you keep getting this fake energy, you just got to let it go and step aside, because they're not your people. Penny says, I walked away from a relationship for my own protection spiritually. 110%. I was like, I don't always share things about my personal life, but this was some time ago. So a number of years ago, I was in a relationship with somebody that I did love, I did care about, and they loved and cared about me. But this person had a lot of things going on in their life that were just deeply unhealthy. And the way that they exited my life, I mean, they're still with us physically here, but the way that they exited my life was just, it was very hurtful. It was very confusing. And I felt very blindsided, and I felt a lot of betrayal, like, how could you do this and treat me this way? But one of the things that Spirit said is, had this person stayed in your life, there would have been even more damage. Spirit said, had this person stayed in your life, there would have been even more damage. And so Spirit actually said, yes, they removed themselves from your life, but we removed them from your life at the time that we did, because we did not want you to have a breakdown. And had this person stayed in your life, you would have broken down. And in hindsight, looking back with some things that went on with this individual, it's true. They would have caused more damage being in my life than exiting my life. But at the time, all I wanted was for them to stay. I wanted them to stay. And, to quote the writer and the intuitive Kailyn Mace, sometimes a person is on orders from heaven to leave. Because in order to become the person that you need to become, they can't be in your life. I must confess, I'm a goddess. Says, how divine to have Spirit. Absolutely. Penny says, I feel they made the right choice. You absolutely did. Yeah. And this is a thing, though. Just because you made the right choice doesn't mean it doesn't feel bad. When I was living in Puerto Rico, we'll talk about this in a second. I've been listening to Bad Bunny's album, but many years ago when I lived in Puerto Rico, life in Puerto Rico was difficult. It's hard sometimes. Beautiful, but it's hard. And I remember saying to Spirit, I was like, but you said you wanted me here in Puerto Rico. And they said, well, yes, but everything that's meant for you is not easy. So sometimes, of course, yeah, it does hurt. It hurts because you also have an image and a vision in your mind of what the relationship could be if you both came together and came into union, and then to have, and especially if you experience that love or that friendship, or that if you actually experienced it and it wasn't just something that was in your mind, but you experienced it with the person, and then to have them go, it's very painful. I want to say hello to the Lion King. I used to love, when I was in college, I went to NYU and I was a performer. And at the time, I think the Lion King, it was on Broadway and all of these national tours. I remember one of my classes, my teacher had me read in class for the part of Nala in the Lion King. That was nice. The lessons of life. Yeah, absolutely. Because what you have to understand too, and this is what I pray for. I pray that I live on my highest timeline. I pray for the highest expression of what I'm called to do here in this lifetime. And I also pray that anybody that is not in alignment with that, and anybody that is not for me, that they be removed. They be removed. And this is the thing, when you pray that prayer, it's like Amazon. And the person is gone very, very quickly. A lot of people joke about this on TikTok about I went within and protected my peace so hard, I don't have any friends anymore. But a lot of times as you grow and evolve spiritually, you will outgrow relationships. And it doesn't mean that you can't talk to people or still stay in contact, but you will find as you grow and evolve spiritually, there's going to be some people that you just outgrow. You just outgrow. Yeah. Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, non-binary people, we can have multiple genders. Our indigenous folk tell us so. So I have answered some questions. So I said this before in relation to TikTok, and I say this psychically, like as a prediction wise, but I'm also just sharing with you too. Everybody can already see and feel that this app has changed. And everybody can feel that. And I will stay on TikTok for as long as it is in existence, unless it turns into a cesspool, and then I may have to get out of here. But as I will stay on TikTok. However, in order to stay in contact with me, I recommend you go to my website. My website is NicoleBowman.biz, and you can sign up for my newsletter. I don't send out a newsletter all the time. I just send it out as I'm spiritually led to. But the thing is that when you type in your email address, that keeps us connected. So if something does come up, I can reach out to you. If something does come up for you, you can reach out to me. You can also go to my link tree. Oh, thank you for following me. I appreciate that. Yes, please follow me. Follow me here on TikTok. Also, if you go to my bio, you'll see my link tree, and my link tree has the links to all of my social media. I know there are a lot of people that have mixed feelings about Meta, and I get it. But I am on Meta. So if you want to follow me on Meta, you can follow me under Nicole Bowman, which is my personal page, but I put a lot of my business stuff on there as well. And then my business page is Nicole Intuitive. So you can follow me on either one. I pretty much put the same stuff on both pages. And I do have a spiritual group in Meta called Live the Light. It's Live the Light spiritual group. I started it a number of years ago, but I put it on a hiatus, and I've just come back with it now because I really feel like we're going to need community this year. So it's an opportunity. It's a place for people to talk, to connect, to meet. If you follow my page on social media, I have about, I think it's about 1.3, 1.4 followers. That's how you'll know that's my page. And Live the Light, the group is small. It's about 15, 16 people. So the group, it'll grow as it needs to grow. But I want it to be just like-minded folk. And absolutely, yes. The way you can stay in contact with me here, definitely follow me on TikTok. If you want to learn about psychic development, I have a YouTube channel called Live the Light. And I used to do a podcast called Live the Light. I did a podcast for a long time. I started it in 2010 and it went until 2020. And we talked about C19 and all these different things, prediction shows, live readings. A lot of that information is on my YouTube page. You can also find it, Live the Light, on Apple Podcast and Live the Light on iHeartRadio. And I never ask people to rate my podcast. So if you listen and you like the stuff, give it 5 stars, rate it for me, please. Because I don't know, at that time, when I first started podcasting was not a thing. And it became popular in later years. But for me, some of my very first clients were clients that I read for on my show, Live the Light. And my show started on Blog Talk Radio. Yep, Nicole Bowman, like a bow and arrow. Nicole Bowman. And you can also find me facebook.com/intuitive Nicole. Intuitive Nicole. My picture will come up, but it's my picture when I had like very short hair and I don't have my hair rep on. So Speaking of which, I'm due for new pictures. I've been thinking about that. The last pictures I took them 7 years ago when I was in Florence, Italy. An acquaintance of mine, his name is Lorenzo. He's an amazing photographer, Lorenzo Tordini Photography in Florence, Italy. He took my pictures, and I used those pictures. I loved those pictures. He's an artist. Thank you, Penny. Thank you. She said, I just joined your YouTube. Yeah, you can subscribe to my YouTube. I have a little under 2,000 followers. It's Live the Light. Live the Light, hashtag Nicole Intuitive. And you'll see it on YouTube. So you can join me there. But I have a variety of places where I am. The best place is my website because it has all my social media handles, links, everything. But, if you do YouTube, I'm there. If you do Meta, I'm there. I just joined Blue Sky under Live the Light, which is the name of my company. Live the Light is pretty much everywhere because that's the name of my company. But I haven't really posted anything. The only thing I've posted is about the election. Penny says, I just saw Lemon 8. Yep, I'm on Lemon 8 as well. For some reason, the name I have on Lemon 8 escapes me. It might be Intuitive Nicole or it might be Live the Light. I can't remember which one. But my Lemon 8 is attached to my TikTok. So if you click on the Lemon 8, you'll find me there. And I just posted. Sometimes I cross post. And sometimes there are things that I'll just exclusively put on TikTok or exclusively put on Lemon 8. Because I'm finding that Lemon 8, I don't know how you guys feel about Lemon 8, but it reminds me a lot more of Pinterest. Which, I mean, Lemon 8, it's fine for now. But as I said before, this app is going to change. It's going to continue to change. And so I really think, I really recommend, especially with not just with me, but with other creators, if people have a YouTube channel, follow them over there. If people have a Substack, which I do, but I'm not doing anything with my Substack right now. So that's why I'm not giving it out. But I've been on YouTube for years and I just post the videos as I'm led to as well. And because my YouTube channel is not monetized, so I just post as I feel led to. But there are a lot of things on there that you'll see. So before we close, does anybody have any other questions or anything like that? Any questions? Yeah. And also, if you enjoyed this live tonight and you would like to honor me with a donation, you are under no obligation to donate. I just want to be clear. But if you would like to, because some people do sometimes ask, you can go to NicoleBowman.biz and just click on Buy Me a Coffee. Type in whatever amount you're comfortable with, or you can send a donation to my Cash App, which is Live the Light, all one word. And I'll probably do more of these. I may do like a full reading live on TikTok where we just do readings after readings after readings, and people do it by donation. We'll see how that is. I used to do those when I was on Blog Talk Radio. I would just do that. That was the beginning of my psychic training, really, to just be cold reading. Oh, I must confess, I'm a goddess as I've been searching for it. Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why. And I've put enough in YouTube where I should show up on searches, but a lot of people have told me they still don't see me showing up. So I will just say it out. It's youtube.com/@live the light. youtube.com/@live the light. You'll find me there. And then if you are on Meta, if you want to join Live the Light spiritual group, you just have to request it. And the other thing about it too is that for those of you who are practitioners, Live the Light spiritual group is also about connecting practitioners with clients, right? So it's an honor system, but I monitor it because I want people to have positive experiences and be dealing with workers that are in integrity. Oh, Elvira says, who can I trust? Will I find a lawyer and a doctor? So I'm just going to say this in a general sense, Elvira, and I'm doing readings by donation tonight. So if you go to NicoleBowman.biz and just click Buy Me a Coffee, just type in whatever donation amount you feel led to when you get a chance. So, but here's what I want to tell you. Oh, you guys, I think, let me know. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. It just had me verify something. So Elvira says, who can I trust? Will I find a lawyer and a doctor? So here's what I'm seeing around it in terms of who you can trust. I don't feel like there are too many people around at this point in time that you can trust. This is an exercise in tapping in and listening to your intuition and listening to your gut instincts. One of the things that Spirit is also telling me is that I feel like you've been very much in your head a lot. And what they're saying is you have to get more grounded. You got to get a lot more grounded. If you're doing anything in terms of spiritual work, spirituality, spiritual matters, things like that, Spirit is saying to put away the spiritual stuff for a while and just get outside. When I'm looking at like a lawyer or somebody you might be able to talk to or communicate with, I see that closer to like, for some reason, I'm actually seeing as early as the month of February. But I feel like the challenge and the issue that I see with all of that is that there's something going on where you're going to really talk to them about whatever this case or whatever this matter is. Because what I'm seeing, even with this lawyer that you talk to, is like they're not sure what they can do for you. That's immediately what I'm seeing. Like they're not sure what they can do. When I look at the energy of a doctor, I see closer to the spring, specifically around May. Around May. Oh, thank you, Penny. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Yeah, I think the beauty also of TikTok really was that the first algorithm, because it connected us all with like-minded people and like-minded energies, and unfortunately that's changing a bit, but I still feel like set and hold the intention that you will connect with like-minded people. Set and hold the intention that you will connect with like-minded people. And I just want to do a little exercise with you, because a lot of people ask like how do you manifest things or draw something to you. So for a moment, like all we're wanting is chosen family, right? Chosen community. So just for a second with me, you can close your eyes if you want to, or you can keep your eyes open, whichever you want to do. But just for a second, listen to the sound of my voice. And I want you to imagine and feel this with me. We're in a group of people who are on the same wavelength spiritually. When we have conversations, the conversations are sincere. When people ask a question, they really want the answer. And everybody compliments everybody, and everybody can see people's individual gifts and talents and abilities. And it's not competitive. And it just feels good. You see that? Hold that feeling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And smile. Let it go. Right? So we just manifested like-minded folk. That's how you manifest. You don't have to like be laying in your bed for like 5 hours trying to manifest a new car. You just need to get into the positive feeling space just for like 20 seconds and just hold that feeling for a bit. But a lot of times, like if you're going through stuff and it's really difficult, you first have to acknowledge that you don't feel great. But then you begin to ask yourself, like, I don't feel good, but what would I like instead? And then you slowly start tiptoeing. Like Spirit is giving me an image of like walking towards it, or like a baby crawling. You start tiptoeing, you start crawling towards it. And then suddenly you start feeling the thing that you want. Elvira says, thank you. That's how it always happened. Justice, I need the specialized surgery. Oh, I see. I get you. I feel you. Yeah. I feel like this is a longer pathway though for you. But I think you know that. And the reason I say this is because I'm seeing like a between now and 2028. So whatever surgeries and things you're needing, it it's gonna come, like I almost see it in waves and windows of time, like in blocks. Like it's a 6-month block, and then it's a 3-month block, and then it's a 5-month block. Penny says I'm still working on manifesting. Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing too. Like sometimes when you're first starting the process of manifesting, when you're first starting the process of it, you may feel like you're making it up. You may feel like it's not a possibility for you. And one of the things that I say is like, if you feel like it's not a possibility for you, if like that's the space that you're coming from with it, I wouldn't focus on it too much in that moment. You know, one of the things that I used to do this a long time ago, when I was like real, money, like I was counting change. Okay. And my first little manifestation thing, it was something small. It was like, I wanted like an extra like $5 or $6 or something like that. So I just kept focusing on that and saying that in the present tense. And then I started thinking about savings. And so I would just build and build and build. And you start where you are. But yeah, Elvira, when it comes to the surgeries, I mean, when I'm looking at the lawyer, I feel like there's somebody you are going to speak to in February, because I see it with like within about a month's time. So I do think in this month of February that's coming, and we're not far away, you're going to speak to somebody. But in terms of the actual surgeries itself and what could be done, you may be able to get something done before the summer. Like, so before the summer is over, I do see that. But then I'm seeing like a 2-year window of time. So there's going to be others, like there's more than one. Yeah, Elvira says the doctors are still learning, and I have been a guinea pig all my life. I'm so sorry that you've had to endure that. Elvira, let me ask you a question. And the reason why I was asking you a question is because when you were writing, I saw something going on with your legs, and then I also felt something through the chest. So I was just trying to understand. Is there something right now with the mobility of your legs that is the problem too? Mm. You say yes, and multiple injuries too. I see. I see. Oh, it's your spinal cord. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. When I connect and tap into that psychically, you know, if we're looking at the spine and it's connected to the neck and flexibility and seeing and moving through life, this is going to sound a little bit, and heart surgery too. So the heart and okay. Thank you for that. I want you to affirm something about the heart, right? Now, people say this in a very like Pollyanna-ish sort of way, but honestly, this is about you letting love in. But I don't just mean it in like that romantic sort of way. I mean letting in all the goodness that you can hold. All the goodness you can hold. So I want you maybe in the morning, if you can, to open your hands up and say, I welcome in all the goodness that my heart can hold. All the goodness that my heart can hold. And then when I'm looking at the spinal cord on a spiritual level, that's about flexibility and moving with the flow of life. And I think that because of what you've gone through, this is so much easier said than done. Oh, just go with the flow. Just go with the flow. Well, you try doing that when you have difficulty with the mobility, right? Affirmation for you. I am open to the highest expression of what my body can do in this lifetime. I am open to the highest expression of what my body can do in this lifetime. Yeah, yeah. You know, I will tell you, I a couple years ago, I got really sick, and I've spoken to people about this before. I contracted a respiratory infection when I was in Ecuador, and it put added stress and strain on my heart, and my heart stopped. And, you know, I coded on the operating table, and they brought me back. And when I went into prayer about that, specifically with my heart, because I was told that I actually had suffered a heart attack while I was on the operating table. When I prayed about that, I asked God, like, what can I take from that? And God said, your heart was broken. And I was like, and I had to think about it. And I thought about like past relationships and partnerships and just different things that had been said and done to me, my childhood. My heart was really, really broken. And when they brought me back, it got broken wide open. And I realized, oh, there are people I need to forgive. There are people I need to make amends with. And there are just things I need to let go. And so that's what I started doing for me. I just started doing the radical forgiveness of letting go. You know how sometimes you'll think about things that are been said or done to you, and you might have a conversation in your head with the person, or a conversation about the situation, or I should have said this, or I should have done that. What I've started doing, even in the situations where I know a person was trying to hurt or harm me, I forgive them, I release them, I just let it go. Now, I don't allow them back into my life, because there's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. And I'm not interested in reconciling people who have hurt or harmed me. But I realize if I keep holding this in my heart, it's going to clench, it's going to tighten, it's going to, and I have to let go so life can flow, so blood can flow. Elvira says it's multiple times I should not have survived. Yeah, you're blessed. You're still here. You're here for a reason. And you know what, Elvira? It just came to me. Sometimes when we are dealing with a lot of physical conditions, what's happening is not just about us, it's about the people around us. Meaning that our soul, our body is teaching the doctors around us, is teaching our family. It's also teaching us that even if my body is not moving in the way that I want it to move or doing what I want it to do, I'm still worthy of dignity and love and respect. I'm still a child of God. I'm still me. Even if my body feels like it's not moving, even, if it feels broken. I remember when I was in the hospital, I'm a very active person. And when I got out of the hospital, I could barely make it upstairs. And I remember sitting, because I was sitting in Ecuador outside, and Ecuador is a place of super high elevation as well. And I can remember sitting and watching people, little kids, parents, people all different shapes, sizes, ages, running, walking, skipping. And I couldn't even get up the steps. And that's the other thing too about disability and recovery. You don't always look like what you've been through. So when a person looked at me, they wouldn't have known that I was struggling with what I was struggling with. Elvira says, yes, still me, you're right. That's why I will write a book one day. Yeah, I would write it. I would write it. I'm thinking about, I don't know if you know of the little boy, he's since passed away. His name was Matty Stepanak. And he wrote a series of books about following your heart song. And he had a number of conditions that made it difficult for him to breathe. But he wrote a lot, he wrote a lot. And I remember when I was in the hospital and, it looked like I might be on medication for the rest of my life. That's what the doctors were saying. And I remember laying in that hospital bed and I saying, thank God I followed my tuition and I traveled the world. Thank God I got to see Italy and different parts of Africa and Ecuador and Mexico and all these places I wanted to go, because at that time, they didn't think that I was going to make it. Or if I did, my quality of life was not going to be what it had once been. But I remember being in that hospital room and God said to me, you're going to make a full recovery and I'm going to heal you publicly so everybody can see. God did it. That was God. And God worked through my family, and God worked through my doctors, and God worked through. I was in Ecuador, and my sisters started a GoFundMe for me to cover my hospital bills at the time, because my hospital bills were, by the time we got finished, $30,000-$40,000 in Ecuador. Imagine what it would have been in the United States. It would have been $500,000. $500,000. God definitely did have other plans. Yep. God, I remember I was laying in that bed and I asked God, I said, is it my time to go? Because if it is, there are so many things I wanted to do, but I said, you know what, Lord, if it's my time, I go. And God said, nope, you got more work to do. And so I immediately went into prayer and I asked the Spirit of God, I asked the Holy Spirit to help me fight. Because that's the other thing too. God doesn't always bring you out of things immediately. Sometimes God brings you through things. Elvira says, oh, I like that publicly. My children also involved weird conditions. Yeah, because a lot of the time, I definitely feel that my soul, it was messing with my mind too, because I was like, I'm a healer and here I am laid up in bed and I can't even move. And God said, well, how are you going to help people heal if you've never been sick? How are you going to be able to teach what you've never been through? I said, okay. Elvira says, I knew at 13 I was here for a purpose. 100%. Absolutely. Because, and you are. Because, and this is, I want to say this to healers, because I read for so many healers and so many spiritual workers that have chronic conditions. Right. And people will say, well, if you're such a great healer, how come you didn't get rid of this or this or that? Healing is not just a cure. And sometimes healing and a cure are not the same thing. Healing is opening and creating the space for God to move through. Healing is opening and creating a space to understand why the condition in the first place. Right? For me, it was really my lungs. Lungs represent grief. I've been crying. I've been mourning. I'd gone through so much childhood trauma. There were so many things that I had gone through in my life that I was grieving. And then my heart was trying to bottle up this love and allow things to flow. Elvira said, you hit the nail on the head. I go through every day healing, opening for God to go through us. Absolutely. Because a lot of times what happens to us is not just about us or for us, it's for other people too. My doctor, he was a very young doctor actually. He was a young doctor and he believed in God. And what's so crazy too is, in addition to that, there were priests that would come in every day and they would pray over me. They would pray over me. They would pray with me. They would pray for me. They prayed with my family. And I remember the priest, he said, Nicole, you're a miracle. But really, it was God. The miracle was God. The miracle was the Divine Mother, because I work with Mother Mary. Like, it was God. And it was everybody being God's hands and feet coming together, because it was what the community could do. It was the community. It was the community that came together and allowed God to move, that saved me. So, okay, you guys, now my legs feel like they're about to go to sleep. So I'm going to get out of here. But before I do, let's just close in prayer. I'm going to surround us with the light of the Holy Spirit. And I just pray that each and every one of you is divinely guided and protected where you need to be in this world. If you need to move across cities, countries, counties, do that. If you need to stay rooted in place, do that. Connect with people who love you, connect with people who like you, connect with like-minded souls, and know that God has your back. Ashe. And may the angels keep charge over you. And Elvira says, yes, God is the only miracle. God wants us to work together 100%. We are a spark of God in human form. We are the divine experiencing itself. All shapes, all colors, all everything, right? So I wish you guys joy, love, peace, all of that. You can follow me here on TikTok. I'm still have my channel. I'll keep it up. And then you can also go to NicoleBowman.biz if you want to sign up for my email list. And blessings to all of you. And I think we're there. And I'm going to turn it off now.